Hello.
What's going on, Bean?
Nothing much. I'm at work and I actually remembered to jump on today.
That is so perfect. That is so perfect. We need you.
Hey, B.
Hi. I'm sorry. I'm running around right now, but I'm paying attention. I think I'm gonna actually get y'all out my ear so my coworkers could actually hear the conversation.
Aren't y'all closed right now?
No, we got new hours. We don't close until 9 now.
Oh, okay.
So look, my coworker was like, "Oh, okay." So hold on, I'm gonna take you out my ear. Okay, I'm back, but I'm gonna be walking around and have y'all on mute, but we're listening.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Let's just cut right to the chase, Raj. What is your beef? All right, first of all, I want to say how glad I am that there's finally a show like this here, where we brothers can discuss things like here. Where's your brother? Come on, bring him on out. Get out here. I didn't see him back. Let's just cut right to the chase, Raj. What is your beef? All right, first of all, I want to.
I don't know if any of you know Amanda Just Vibing. They stole her content. They stole her content. Now, it's a lot of people, okay? It's just a lot of people that.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Jesus, take the wheel, quick! Okay, you got this.
Hey, officer.
Evening, Jesus. You any drinking tonight?
Of course. Nah.
What's tonight's conversation about?
We will make it up as we go along because I have no idea. It's open season.
That's when your coworkers, if they have a topic they would like for us to discuss.
We think I just asked them to come up because one is almost 30 and one will be 26 soon. So that's two different generations right there. Okay, we got the 25-year-old talking about new age dating. I don't know what that means, but what is new age?
That will actually work.
Come closer, please, so they can hear you. You're not on screen.
I'm
You
gonna
just you.
hey, we about to start being. Hold on.
Okay.
All opinions are those of the participants making them and are not an endorsement of any position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is for information, observations, and entertainment. I ask that you like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Good evening, everybody. This is DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and of course, always smooth as a Rolls Royce. I'm coming to you live from the 571 where I'm having fun and I'm getting things done. And on the way, I'm talk about before we go into what we're going to talk about tonight, which is we just got a subject, it's new age dating. I want to bring on my team. First, I want to talk about my favorite girl, the Chocolate Pearl. What's going on?
Hey, everybody. It's Chocolate Pearl from Duval. Ready to
That's
get this
what's
topic on. We want to thank the person who had volunteered this nice little subject. Hopefully, we can get through it and hopefully they will chime in. Thank you for joining us today.
definitely, and of course, my youngest sister from the same Mister and the same Mrs. She's always lean and never mean. Let's talk about the lady Bean. What's going on, Bean?
Hey, how y'all doing? Long time no see. I'm back in effect, and I'm glad to be here.
That's what's up. That's definitely what's up. So we also got Big Al straight from Georgia doing his thing. Always glad when he comes on. We got the soon to be the betrothed of Chocolate Pearl, Big Dabs, DJ Dabs, who's going to do his thing. And this week is special for myself and Chocolate Pearl, as we both have special days on Saturday. Saturday is not only her oldest son's birthday, but my oldest son's birthday. They were born 3 years apart, and they could be they about as similar as night and day. But they're great men. They're both married, both got their own house, both out our pockets, and that's a good thing. That's definitely a good thing.
Amen.
Her
Amen.
son will be
Amen.
36. My son will be 33. And we just we just can't not say nothing. So happy early birthday, Justin and Randall. Those are my dudes. And so we're gonna talk about tonight. We're gonna talk about dating in today's society, modern day dating. Bean has one of her coworkers who's 25, and he wants to talk about dating. Can you bring him up, Bean?
Yeah, I'm gonna introduce you. This is a close family friend. I grew up with his father, and we so happen to work together. And this is my friend and my little nephew, Mo. Here you go, Mo.
Hello, it's nice to meet everybody.
Actually, speak up.
So
Hey,
who's
everybody, it's nice to meet everybody here. This is
Nice
Hey,
to
Mo.
meet
thanks,
Nice to
you.
meet
thanks,
everybody.
Mo. Who's your daddy?
My dad name is my dad name is Mad Dog.
Is he from New York? He's from the city, or is he
He's from
Yeah,
Queens.
he from Queensbridge.
what block he lived on?
12th Street.
He's Puzzle. He's one of Puzzle's best friends,
Okay.
Oh, so
All
he
right.
lived on the 40th side.
and he's one of the main reasons that we are in Binghamton.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I remember you talking about that. Okay.
All all right. So starting off this, what do you're 25, young man, living your life. What is so difficult about dating today?
Okay, so I feel like now in this new dating scene is that a lot of people don't know exactly what they want, and I feel like whenever whenever people do want to say like they know what they want, I feel as if they only want it if it's coming from somebody and whatever they feel like is the best thing for them. Like whoever they feel the best is for them, that's who they will real life like try to give all the attention, all the time and all that too. So you just gotta find when you're gonna be that one for that person. I feel that's what it really is.
Okay. So here's a question.
Hmm.
Uh, as a guy, what do you want from your partner?
All right, so me personally, I just want somebody to be on the same level as me. Like we don't have to always have everything to be agreed on because there's going to be disagreements. There's always going to be arguments. It's going to be a little bit of fighting, but that's stuff that you have to get through at the beginning. So that way you make relationships easier later on for yourself, whoever you're like trying to make this relationship with. Because if we don't go through the hard things now, then when we go through it later, we don't really know each other. So it's like how we gonna go through it if we don't even really know each other at all? You can't kind of
So
just hate somebody and then have no like no real background because when it comes down to it, people ask you like, well, what you like about it? Now you don't know nothing. You don't know what to say, or you just like, oh, well, I just like the fact that she just treats me nice. Well, that's not enough.
so okay, now here's I'm gonna ask you because a lot of people, I sit in on a couple of panels. So what would you offer your partner? What do you bring to the table?
Okay. So me personally, when it comes down to it, I'll put myself in a position that if I was just like stable all the way, like I used to be, but if it was around that time, I'll just say personally, like you'd have the roof over your head. You'd always have things that could potentially make your life a little bit easier. I'm always willing to like put out bright ideas and I'm always willing to, you know, not really like how do I say it? I just want to bring the things that I want to bring to the table is something that we got to build upon. I feel like I'm not gonna always be at that biggest point in my life, just the same way she won't be at the biggest point in her life. So it's like even if I don't have all the qualities of everything being brought to the table, I feel even if that's the case, we should be able to bring ourselves to that point.
Okay, no, that's actually pretty good because for real, a lot of guys your age really don't know what they provide to um
Right,
to a potential partner because a lot of times y'all seem to get burned a lot because
right,
some women are fickle, a lot of young women are fickle because they've been told, get the bag, and they're told not to really give you anything in return. And I don't mean intimacy. I'm talking about, I mean, when you come up, you get off work and you go home, is she gonna bring you peace at the house? Or is she
right,
gonna complain about the bills? Or she wants you to get her a Birkin bag, knowing you don't make that much money to get a Birkin bag. And
right.
what's she gonna do with a Birkin bag, a real Birkin bag? She ain't gonna do nothing with a real Birkin bag because it'll get stolen.
No, right. Either that,
So,
or you're just gonna use it in the same way you use one that's not as expensive. Just gonna use it and just have something to be shown to other people to just be like, well, look, I got this nice bag. Look what my man got me. But not all the time. It's always like, oh, look what my man got me. Sometimes it's always like, well, my man got me this, but I know there's somebody that could do more.
yes, yes, and guys, I was once 25, many, 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 many years ago, but I understand that sometimes we think very similar. We do things that not necessarily good for our relationship, but they make us feel good. Chocolate Pearl, you want to ask him anything?
Well, I've been out of the loop for a little bit, so I'm a whole different species. I've never been a person who depended on someone to provide for me in those different type of ways. If they did, I appreciate it, but they don't necessarily have to. Um, I'm just listening because this is way over my head. I just can't see for people who always looking for, I'm going to say it, gold digging. You don't want to be with this person because they can't provide you with this, and you don't want to be with that person because they can't provide you with that. I'm not that. I'm a person that we're even Steven. This is no 20/80 or no, 25/75, none of that. This is equal, equal amount,
But get your,
100/100.
here's the deal, though. Here's the deal, Pearl, is that, you know, is giving your best. Sometimes your best is more than enough. Sometimes it's not enough. But at least the Bible says we press towards the mark of the high calling, which is Christ Jesus. That means so it's not going to be a walk in the park every day. So I
No.
understand we
Yeah,
I,
that's what I'm trying to say is I go into a relationship to where we can better each other, not you can better me, and then when you don't do it, I get the moving. You know what I mean? You,
right,
I
right.
noticed that a lot of younger generations, younger than my generations, of course, um, they tend to look for values in the wrong way. I look for values in a person and not in their pocket. I look for
But you don't
values
see a pocket walking. You don't see a pocket walking down the street.
exactly. You don't see a pocket. Actually, think about it. Sometimes these people do look at a pocket walking down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
They look
You
at a
have a
pocket
point.
walking down the street. You look at it, it's like a cartoon. You just see a dollar sign walking down, and that's sexy to people. You know what I'm saying? I look at a person, I don't even look at their true appearance. Once you open up your mouth and have a conversation with me, that's how I determine whether you're sexy or not. If you can hold a good conversation and act like you got some sense, that's sexy. Look, my baby, look, my baby's sexy over here.
Go
He's too
ahead.
sexy for
Go
himself.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But you know what I'm saying? It's what can you do for us together? Not what can you do for me, and not what can I do for you. Is what can we do
Right.
together? Are you
Right.
are you gonna better us? Not me. Are you gonna better us, or you just want me to better you? I don't have time for those shenanigans.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
I
So
don't know about this new dating, but it sounds like the old dating because it sounds like the same thing that I'm going through at almost 50. Um, you sit down and you have the conversation and you tell them your expectations and your boundaries, and they say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then a couple of weeks later, they're like, why are you acting like this? Why are you doing? I'm like, that's who I am. You accepted me, but now you want me to change. I don't get it.
so here's the thing though is I know you I knew you since I knew you. um when you how many of those times or you're a lot older, a lot more mature than you were when we lived together. So how did you what made you become more focused on what you want instead of what you thought you want?
Hitting 45 and saying that I don't need this BS. I need somebody that's going to make me happy and not me making them happy. We have to make each other happy or at
Well,
least a little bit gleeful. I don't want to be depressed in a relationship, and that's what I'm in my last three relationships I found that I was being put in a dark place that I should not be in. If somebody's so-called telling me in my face every day that they love me, love should not hurt that bad. I know it hurts, but it shouldn't make me want to kill everybody in my house.
well, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say, you know, and that's good maturity on your part because, like I said, I've known you, and you know, I 30 years ago, you wouldn't have been saying stuff like that. But that's a wonderful thing, and I'm very proud of you. Big Al, what's going on, Big Al?
I'm hanging in there,
That's
taking
good.
taking a day at a time. Was out playing golf all day yesterday, but I'm chilling now. But I think for me, the big difference between dating when I was doing it in the 70s and now is IT and access to information. Back in the day, we could lie about where we lived, how much money we were making, what jobs we had, and a lot of other things, both men and women. But with IT and information that's available, you can cut through that real quick. And I think the other big difference is people now, both men and women, are less tolerant of BS. I mean, we have options, and if things are not working, people just move on. Say, hey, I'm not going to really put up with this unless there is something deep rooted in that relationship where you see value long term. Most people are just not willing to invest a lot of time and energy in a relationship that's not going to go somewhere and lead to something significant.
Well, but Big Al, and I understand that. But here's the deal, especially like with the young man, you at 25 and him at 25, the dating scene was like 100 times, 100 times different. And it's also in a way, it's also complicated because when you were growing up, like you said, with information out there, in your hometown in Louisiana, you was a good looking gentleman and you were popular in your town, but the women only had you and a few other guys to choose from. Whereas these days, women have paralysis by analysis with all of the swiping and all of the things that they want, all the things they say they want. They can get everything, but then they're not happy because they haven't figured out, like Bean was saying, sometimes you got to make yourself happy. Sometimes you got to keep each other happy. And if you're both working towards the same goal, then you get there together. But a lot of people, and this is gender agnostic. A lot of people don't want to. A lot of people don't want to do the work. That's the
Exactly.
don't people. Some people don't want to grind. They want to be there when you up. When you down, they ain't trying to be around. But when you up, they in your face. And yeah, it happened years ago, and stuff like that did happen. But it was a lot, it was a lot less information out there. So you pretty much conform to norms because this goes out worldwide. You hear people falling in love over the internet, but remember, we used to go to house parties. We used to go to the club. We used to have to actually go out.
Yeah, those were the days.
So we used to have to go out and actually meet folks. There's not those opportunities anymore. And being your man still around, or is he's still cleaning?
Who you talking to?
Being,
Oh.
I guess not. I guess you don't listen to more.
I'm so sorry. I'm at work, and can you repeat the question?
I said, is your man still around? I want to ask him a couple more questions.
Yes, he is taking the order right now. He'll
All right.
be. Give him a moment.
All right. All right. Just put your hand up when he's ready. Miss Dream, what's going on? She must be doing something else too. Um, what's going on, Madam D? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Madam D is a co-host on Upscale Vibe Worldwide, and she decided to join us on today's show. How are you doing today?
I'm well. I'm
Good.
cooking some pork chops. I'm getting a late start.
Hey, you know how it is sometimes. But the question I was asking, and my co-host Bean is it has a young man, and he was saying about the difference between dating now is that nobody really wants to build anything. They just want to get it at the end. How was that different from when you were in your early to mid 20s?
Um, I think it was different because most people of my generation, the goal was to get married and live that so-called American dream. Whereas today, I think it's a little different because women back then, we worked, but a lot of times, a lot of guys were providers. And so today it's different because women are in the workforce now, and a lot of them are making the money. Back in the day, the prize was to get someone that worked hard or had a good job. But now, I mean, women have are in that role.
So is that a good thing for relationships overall, or is that just or has it made it to where people aren't doing I mean, people aren't willing to make those adjustments. I'm not going to say sacrifices. I'm going to say adjustments in order to work together. Because from what I'm understanding, the young man was saying earlier that we didn't that a lot of people are not willing to work together. My money's my money, your money's my money. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Um, I know being out on my own before I got cancer, I had my own house and I was doing my own thing, doing my own yard and everything. And I think with some of it was systemic, if that makes sense. That,
Yeah.
back in the day, you had where men could not be in the house. Like, if a woman was on public assistance, the government said that you could not have a man in the house. And to me, that was a way to break up families, but it was more modern day.
Well, that's a whole different, and you do have a point, but that was the reason that was put in, from what I understand, the reason why that stipulation was put in because public assistance became more available, especially to melanated folks. And when I mean melanated, I'm talking black folks, American black folks, to where when government assistance was first given out, in the early 30s during the Depression, it was only for certain people. And once after Brown versus Board of Education and Plessy versus Ferguson was struck down, they had to open it up to other people. So they said, well, how can we not give people money? Well, if a man's in a house, they say that if a man's in a house, then he should be a provider. So that's where that man in the house thing came in. So a lot of people started getting married less instead of more, and then after in the 70s, from the difference between the 70s and the 90s, especially during Reaganomics, one income wasn't in order it what one income in the 70s and in the early 80s, one income was enough to supply a whole house and have a little bit of money extra. Now, if I'm 25, I can't even think about a house unless I got some money.
Yeah.
I can't even think about a house. I can't think about a decent car. I can't If I'm buying something new, that's something else that I won't be able to do. I'm not able to support. I can support myself, but I'm not able to support anybody else with what I make, because the average, and I'm just talking mainly black folks, the average household for black people is about $52,000. That's the entire household. So if you got three kids and you make it $52,000, you're too rich to get any financial aid from the government, and you're too poor to live halfway decent, especially since housing is going up. So it's a lot more difficult it's a lot more difficult for people to actually get ahead, and that's part of the problem. That's why we're having all these issues, and now it's affecting everybody. So it's like, wow, cutting taxes to the rich ain't exactly doing us any favors.
Yeah.
And and that's one of those things that, and I feel for our younger folks, because they're the first, well, millennials are the first generation that didn't do better than Gen X.
Yeah.
And each generation is not getting even close to what we had as Gen X or baby boomers. And it's a shame. The country is the way it is because we don't, we allowed it. We voted for that, even though we didn't vote for this. We voted for a subject of that. And it goes back to, and this goes back, and I'm bringing it all around, but this goes back to the America's original sin: subjugation and slavery. I mean, we may not have always been married by the court, but we always had families. We have families taking care of families. And with the expansion of dating options and, you know, dating opportunities, things are not gonna why would I as a woman settle down if I got 20, 30 guys willing to give me money and I really don't have to do anything? Why does a guy have to settle down when I can go 3 or 4 different towns and get, and have relations, and don't really mean nothing? It's the whole thing is that relationships have become more transactional than than it is than
That's
it
it
is,
right there.
bringing
That's
the
it right there.
family together. Because you can even look at the different generations. Um, from my parents' generation to my generation to my kids' generation, it's a lot different. Now we did a lot of things that we were poor. We lived in the projects. What it is, what it is. However, our thing was we wasn't planning on staying there. But what do the young men and women these days really got to look forward to? The economy's not getting any better. Inflation's not going down. There's wars
I
around
think
the corner.
everything that's going on has forced us to look at relationships and roles differently because today you have the woman who may be making money and she gets pregnant by her husband, have a kid. Childcare is so high, so then he stay at home and be a stay at home dad taking care of the kids because you can't afford daycare. And so I think the roles are, it just depends on the family's financial situation. Or if you got the guy that's making the money, then he may tell his wife, okay, it costs too much for daycare, so you stay at home.
Yeah, but y'all still struggling. I mean, and
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing, and
But
that's
not as bad as if you were paying the daycare.
that's true because then you'd be working for somebody else. Now, a lot of that has to do with how our system is basically broke. And y'all can disagree with me on that, but the system is basically broken and not set up for normal people to get ahead. Miss Kim, how do you feel about that? Oh, there she goes.
Oh, yeah. What was the question? I was reading something at the time.
So, how do you feel about, your daughter's age, people your daughter's age not being able to get the same opportunities as for relationships, for love, for financial security as their parents or their grandparents, and in this dating scene?
It's funny you say that because just last week while I was back home and me and my daughter, my youngest one, was riding around and we were looking at the new subdivisions and new apartments because the whole town in Georgia, where I'm from, is growing, really growing. And we were talking about land and houses and stuff like that. Um, and she was like, I'm 25, she'll be 26 this year. And she was like, Mama, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to afford a house. And she's a parole probation officer. And I was like, telling her it was just gonna it probably take a little longer for her. She's by herself. And we was just talking about how rent is just for her in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, but they're not really paying the money for what they're building in Statesboro, Georgia. And it's really hard because I know she would, even my oldest, she works 2 jobs. She works at a doctor's office and she works at a distribution center on the weekend. And it's still difficult for her. She had to get a second job just to make ends meet. So it's really hard because I even think about myself raising them by myself, and I had to eventually get a second job, but I did have a house. So it's really sad that they go to school to further their education, but they're not able to do the things that they really want to do, like, start early, buying homes and, things of sort, going on a car lot, buying a car. It's just hard to just even save $1 nowadays.
Who are you telling? Who are you telling? And here's the biggest thing is that, like I said, the young man that was on earlier, he was talking about that, and I asked what did he bring to the table, or what did he have, and he actually laid it out and what he expected from a partner. A lot of times men and women, they don't want partners, they want sponsors, and that's a big.
Or wives without the ring. That's what it is. They want you to be their wife and mother, but not actually be the head of household or the husband. So yeah.
But that's, what being here's the deal is that, and you are right. A lot of men don't want the responsibility of being a traditional provider, because they don't feel that that's going to be rewarded with loyalty and respect. Um, like I said, it's today's dating minefield is a lot different from when 20, 30 years ago, and a lot, information that we've gotten, and the economy and just the way things are, we're not we're not going in a good direction as far as having families and, building communities. We are more connected online and disconnected personally, because I mean, I don't know about you, Bean, but in my neighborhood, or in Virginia, you don't really know your neighbors like that. Remember how when we grew up, we knew everybody. We knew we knew everybody on our block,
Right,
in our
exactly.
in our building, our block, our neighborhood. These days, you might know 1 or 2 people on your block, and most of it's mainly high and by. So how can we be a community if we can't even commute? We can't even commune, mean get together, because everybody's separated. Everybody's in their house. Everybody's online. Everybody's on their phone. Everybody is doing their thing. And that started in the 70s with what they call the me generation, where they went away from where they went away from we we went away from a village raising a child to I'm gotta get mine. You better get yours. And that's just, and that's one of those things that we should have never gone down that road, especially us melanated folks, because yeah, black people are not a monolith, but we did stick together, even though, I might not have known you. Now, there's one thing that I don't know if we all can agree on, but it does say, it's the head nod between black men, the head nod. I don't know you, but I acknowledge you. Women do something similar, but then we don't look at how our particular way we behave translates to building a community. If we were to build our communities, then dating would be a lot easier. But like I said, there's so much information out there, so much choice, and people get swayed by different things. Why do you think Trump supporters still support him, even though their lives are not better? Because he tells them that everything's going to be okay and I can handle it. And they don't like, and I don't like the people you don't like. So we got something in common. But as far as dating, it's we don't, we're all afraid to put ourselves out there because we're afraid that somebody's going to do us dirty. Right, wrong, and indifferent. That's a lot of us don't want to be vulnerable because we think that everybody's out to get something off of you. I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know. But that's is your man's got the was he able to finish his order? Bean, Hilaire Bean. Oh, she must be working again. So I'm gonna move on. Chocolate Pearl. Explain, talk about how your dating life went, and I'm talking about before your first marriage to, being about to be married next month.
Um, oh, totally different. So before I got married the first time, there was, of course, there was no social media. You know,
Thank goodness.
you actually had to go out in public and meet people or run upon it. But my dating life was work. Because I worked so much and then go home and take care of my kids. I had met people at work or through friends, stuff like that. My first child his father was a blind date. So somebody set me up. Thank you, Dre. Um,
No, don't put my
it
name
was
in that.
it was somebody you was dating that set me up with that person.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah. That you right. You right
yeah.
about that.
So anyway, and then just it's just people you knew. You didn't really too much go outside your circle for where you was. And so it's either work, church, or your personal circle where you met people. That's how I met people. But for how I met my betrothed now is a different aspect where a lot of people now are doing is going on to these social media or going on to dating apps. Um, I've been watching a lot of these. Once you put anything that has to do with weddings, a whole bunch of stuff shows up, and so you run into these different videos that you see, or even on TV. The four weddings and the bride or something that's like that. Anyway, you see where a lot of people are actually meeting each other through the dating apps. But it gets harder as well because you're basically doing a blind date. You're talking on the phone or you're doing a video, but you still don't know who they are until you meet them, and then you're still not sure about that. Um, so it's dangerous, but it's different. Um, it's exciting, but it's scary. You know, um, it's just different ways of doing things. I just thank God that I decided to uh, somewhat give up. And in the midst of me giving up, I kind of I stood still and allowed God to provide. And just through different aspects of what I was doing at that moment, God brought someone into my life that I didn't expect to be in my life. So that kind of worked out for me and him. and I think vice versa for him as well. But that's the difference from back then to what I'm doing now, what I did now.
Oh, that makes sense. So, okay, how was your, you lived in New York City, you lived in South Carolina, you lived in Florida. Was there a difference in the quality of men you met there in each of those places?
Yes, it was a huge difference. Yes. Um, because where I grew up in New York, my mindset was thugs. That was my mindset. That's all I knew because I lived in the project. So you knew what was surrounded with you. You didn't want to be with the nerds, even though those were the smart ones, but you wanted to stay in a popular group. So you hung around the thugs and the wannabe drug dealers or the wannabe criminals type thing. To me moving to the country where I had a bunch of hillbillies and country folk. And that was a whole different world for me to where I tried to deal with, I still look for the thugs, but in a country way. So it was a different aspect of what you were getting and what you were looking for versus what you're used to and what you feel that you want. I still didn't know what I wanted. I still had one foot in each category where you only have 2 feet. You know what I mean? And
Right,
and you,
right.
you can't play what's that the little twister. You can't play twister in your life and in your relationships that you have to pick where you want to be. Do you want to be in that thug life or do you want a stable situation where a person who gets up in the morning, go to work every day and have a stable life? Or do you just want the ones that just sit around and do nothing and you take control of them? Or do you want the one that's a helpmate like they're supposed to be? Stuff like that. I didn't know that. And to be honest with you, I know it took a long time for me to realize what I really wanted or what I needed. Okay, excuse me, what I needed versus what I wanted. And me actually growing up and going through all those different experiences, it allowed me to understand the difference. And so I don't think a lot of people get to that point. They're still struggling. They're in their 50s. I have a good friend who's been married 3 times. Um, and I have another friend that I know married his 2 wives twice. It's a lot of things that people go through that they still don't understand themselves, but they need to sit down and evaluate themselves before they can go out there and look for someone else that they feel is compatible with them. And we don't do that anymore. We are a, a s- a society that looks at the financial realms of a relationship instead of finding the a relationship and like I said earlier, helping each other,
Right.
growing with each other, doing things together. And because even though if you don't have a dime in your pocket, if you only have a dime in your pocket, you don't have a problem splitting that dime and giving him a nickel and you a nickel, but you still gonna put those 2 nickels together. You know what I'm saying? So it's not my
And
nickel, it's
rub
not your nickel. That's right, and rub them together. But you're not going to give up because of times getting hard. We have a lot of that. That as soon as something gets bad, you ready to leave instead
Right.
of trying to work it out, instead of trying to, figure things out together instead of doing it separately. It's a lot of things that a lot of people don't look. You have more divorces as quick as a marriage nowadays. Soon
Well, that's
I
because people want the wedding, they don't want the marriage.
right, and I've seen so many of my associates that got married and then a year later they divorced. I'm literally looking at their social media, and one minute they all the couples all through the social media. Then all of a sudden, there's only one person in there, and then you see on they status single or separated or stuff like that. I'm like, dang, didn't you just get married last year?
Yeah,
That
because they
means you
want the
didn't try.
ceremony, they don't want the
Right. That means you didn't try. You really, like you said, they just want the ceremony. They didn't want the relationship. Because nowadays, back when we were growing up, people stuck hard with their relationship. They didn't give up as easy. Some people still stay together and just slept in 2 separate rooms because that's
yeah,
how times was hard. but they still stayed together. You know,
Yeah,
nowadays
they that's
they let
called
it go.
basically living together apart.
Yeah, but see, they didn't have back then. They didn't have a name for it. It was only thing I knew that they were broke, too broke. Remember they said it's cheaper to keep her.
Yep.
Remember that saying? It's cheaper to keep
Hmm.
her. It was cheaper to keep them. I'd rather keep you than go broke trying to get rid of you.
Exactly, because it does cost two house, but that's kind of what they want. They want you to have two households, pay two separate stuff, and everybody work and everybody's chipping in, and nobody's getting nothing out of it, and being miserable. You eat bad food, you watch too much TV, you don't exercise, and they just collecting your tax money. um, Madam D, question to you is that the difference in dating when you were coming up and you're seasoned, um your son, how does he look at dating differently?
Well, he's a modern dater. He do the online dating, and he get out more. I'm more of an introvert, so I'm not really around a lot of people to have those opportunities to like meet different people. Whereas he go to the gym, he go to different events, and I'm just a Netflix and chill. So we're so different. But if I'm going back to generational, when I was a teen, we couldn't date until we were 16. And by the time I got 16, it was boring because I had waited so long for this big event until I went out, but not a whole lot. And you had the neighborhood schools, so most of your community lived, everybody knew everybody. Or if they were at rival schools, you knew them too. And so you pretty much we were from a smaller college town. So everybody pretty much knew everybody. So your parents knew their mamas and their grandmas. And so they would come by the house and pick you up. Or they called it courting back then. I know I'm really dating myself. But when you were courting, they would come by the house and you would sit in the living room and socialize. And then by the time I guess I was in my 30s, 40s when this online dating came about with the Black People Meet and everybody went crazy. And so while I was working teaching, this girl had met her husband through online dating. A best friend of mine met her husband through online dating. So I decided to give the online dating a try. And it was just way too much work. And a lot of the guys were not truthful. And I just rather have that old school, date someone that someone introduced you to or that you meet and you're for yourself than to do the online dating because it's just so many different personas on that. But
Oh yeah.
he navigates it good. He was on one and he was like, I think I found somebody for you. He said, but then look at this picture. No, he's not the one. I'm like, oh, okay. So now you're trying to give the introvert a hookup. So it is hilarious, but it is a different. And the younger people, they navigate it well because they will meet someone on there. And if it don't click, they just keep it moving and they move on to the next and the next and the next. So it's different.
Yeah, no, it is different. It is different. But that's what I'm saying is that it hasn't gotten it hasn't gotten better. It's just gotten more difficult. It just got more difficult these days. And that's, unfortunately, that's how it is these days.
I
But
think everything is a evolutionary progress process, and we just either change with it or just stay stuck. I'm not saying that I'm stuck, but um, online dating is not for me. Maybe I just need to socialize more, but I know the online is not for me.
And that's okay. We all can't, we're not all, we all can't like everything. And that makes sense. But I am running out of gas. I am going to call this show a little early tonight. I've just been going through some personal stuff, and I also want to shout out Apple. I know she's still recovering from her situation last week, but I'm not gonna drag on and try to make the whole show, and then we're not getting anything out of it. I'm hoping everybody got something out of this because it's been a pretty interesting conversation. Before I go, Chocolate Pearl, you got anything?
No, I didn't think I was going to be too engrossed in this conversation, but I actually did good. So I'm proud of myself. I want to thank everybody that come on. I want to thank the young man for bringing the topic up. I know we kind of twist and turned on it, and I'm sorry he wasn't able to join back on, but it was still interesting. Thank you very much. And everybody, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week. Same back channel, same back time.
Bean, you got anything before we go?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We got really busy real quick, but I was paying attention whenever I came by my phone. And thank y'all for answering the questions and giving me your opinion. As I said, I'm glad to be back. Hopefully, I'll be able to do it again next week. But same time, same station. Subscribe, like, share, and tell a friend. I'm out. This is Bean.
Thank you. Thank you, Bean. It's always good having you on. And I want to thank everybody who came on in YouTube land, TikTok land, Instagram land, Rumble land, and all the other places that I'm on every Tuesday night, 8:30. Rain, shine, snow, feel like it, don't feel like it, but the show must go on. And I'm going to not use my catchphrase, but I am going to say, telephone, tell a friend. DFG Corner is back again. Y'all be good.